times now, I shared with you information about the decline of the church in Europe and also in America. And I believe it is a direct result of spiritual famine. Because preachers, I just heard a crazy thing the other day. This guy said, no sermon should be over 15 minutes long. People don't want to hear sermons anymore. They want music. Give them 45 minutes of music, read a little bit, preach a little bit, and then get out of there. People don't want to hear sermons anymore. That might explain our attendance too. I haven't exactly learned that yet. I'm working on it. I'm trying to cut them down from an hour to 45 minutes, and I figured that's good. Actually, I'm trying to be done in less than 10. Ha! 35-minute sermon. But I'm having to really go, this is a short sermon. Wow. There's people saying people are not hungry, so I'm not going to feed them. Who's creating a famine in that analogy? Who is creating a famine when people say, we don't do Sunday school anymore, we don't have Sunday night church, we don't do Wednesday night, we might have a picnic once in a while, we just do Sunday morning because the people don't want it. You starved them to death, they don't know there's anything else out there. No, don't say amen. I was just wanting to breathe right there a little. They're starving them to death. God help us, Virgil. God help us. Brother Ken, God help us. God help us not to do that. If you can't take sound doctrine and you would rather heap up to yourselves teachers having itching ears, you're going to have to look somewhere else. You know where that came from? Paul to Timothy, speaking of the last days on this earth. There will come a time when men will not endure sound doctrine, but will instead heap up to themselves teachers having itching ears, saying only what they want to hear. And they'll starve them to death spiritually. The buildings are there. The signs are there. The lights are on, but we're losing the war on many fronts. We're losing the war. In too many churches today, and I'm trying to head this off, that's what I'm preaching this for. When we speak of the bread, we speak in past tense. And I go to churches from time to time, and I hear people, they come up and tell me, my favorite one is Britt, Iowa. I love the people in Britt, Iowa. If you're from Britt, please don't go home and tell anybody I told this. I go to Britt, Iowa. I was a Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning. Friday night, this man came up and said, in 1974 or 78 or I don't remember the year. No, that wasn't him. That was me because I can't remember the year. This church was running 200 people. He told me that the first night. Told me about a revival. Told me how God came. Told me there was a visitation. That's what he told me. He didn't know that, but that's what he told me. Saturday night, we had a banquet. People came, and I was doing church growth with them, trying to help them find ways to reach out to their community. Before that thing started, he walked up to me like he had never seen me in his life. Pastor, I'd like to tell you that in 1978, this church was running 200 people. Why, I tell you, God was here. And he told me that story again as if he had never heard it the night before. After that dinner was over, I was sitting there. The preacher lived right across the street. I was staying with him. Didn't have to go anywhere. Kind of had to wait till he went home to go home. The guy came up to me, and it was as though we had never met. Thanks for being here, brother. And I'm like, I know. Well, no, I didn't say that. He kept telling me the story. I couldn't leave anyway. Had to wait for the preacher's wife to finish washing the dishes and all. You know how that goes. So I listened to it again. I've been there twice and heard it 3 times. And I'm in a church with 65 people in it now. Something's broken. Something's wrong with this picture. So the next morning, I sort of changed my sermon. I decided to preach on 1978. I'm up here. I'm looking out at this little church. Nice church. Beautiful church. Nice church. Brick building. Sign. Practically the Colonial Bakery in Des Moines. I'm sitting here looking out at them. All the people who were a little older, all on this side. All the people who were a little younger, all on that side. And never the twain shall meet. There wasn't no communication. The younger people were all telling me, oh, Pastor, we need some funerals around here. Selective or... So I get up to preach my sermon, and just like it was at Oskaloosa, I would kill myself if I try to make too many trips. Oskaloosa, one step down, I'm on the floor, man. I'm at the third row easy. I mean, it's like 2 steps. I'm right there with them. Woo. So I walked down there, and I said, you know, I think that in about 1978, this church had a revival. And that old guy lit up like a Christmas tree. Like, he thought I had never heard that story before. And I'm like, dude, man, are you... He was ready to tell it again. And so I looked him right in the eyes during church. That was my sermon for the day. I looked him right in the eyes and I said, but you know what, brother? These people over here haven't seen it. They've heard it, but they don't know that it can happen again. It needs to happen again. Bring 78 back. Don't talk about it. Get it today. Preacher called me the next Monday. Not the next day, the following week. Well, I told him, I said, you guys, Britt, Iowa, if you hadn't been there, is a pretty good-sized town. It's like, I don't know, 4,000. And I said, told the preacher, y'all got a van? Where is it? So the guy keeps it at his house in his garage. I said, bring it and park it on the opposite corner from where your sign is. I said, then it says Church of the... Well, it ain't painted. I said, why not? Nobody wants to pay for it. The church board don't want to pay to have Church of the Nazarene put on the side of the van. So it tells people, we're out picking people up, taking them to church, but we don't want you to know where. Well, don't follow us to, follow me to... Don't follow me to church. Put that bumper sticker on your car. That preacher called me 1 week and 1 day later and said, Pastor, last night during church, 1978, same guy, stood up during church, raised his hand. Pastor said, yes. He said, brother, God laid it on my heart. I'm going to pay to have our bus lettered, and I want it parked outside where people can see it. 1 week later, 1978 came flying up into the future. It might have not been a lot, but he said, I'm not going to stay in the past. I'm coming up to today. Woo! There's some people stuck. I don't know what year. Kind of depends on your story. But there's some people stuck. Oh, point 2 got long. Let's go to point 3. All I'm telling you is fresh bread. You start smelling it, you're going to want to hang around it. That's all I'm telling you. We need to be that bread. Point number 3. We need to be that bread. This is the $6 million question. Allegorically,